Hey, my videos are usually pretty raw and basic. I've got some chimes playing in the background, but no, it's too jerky. I'll have to turn them off, turn that program off. Oh well, you know, you don't come here for the chimes, right? So I want to tackle something that's kind of large that just came to me. Um, as I was watching a video put out by Sacred Sarah on time and what it is. I'll give you a link. She did a really good job of laying it out. What is time? And we talk about time being simultaneous. So if you're living any of your lifetimes, you're living them all now. And that's hard to wrap your mind around. I would suggest not trying. I would suggest just being in heart for this. My suspicion is that part of the equipment that we have here with the body in 3D is the mind, which interprets 3D for us. And I think that's what it's for. And so when we want to be transcendent, when we want to connect in with other dimensions, I suggest heart is the avenue to take. Now, just to give you a little bit of a sense, time, all that is, Sarah was sharing as if you can imagine all of cosmos, all of creation is a cloud. And time is change, the measurement of change within space. But it's all just now. And we're all plugged into this now. And it's interesting that in our experience, we seem to be limited to just this one incarnation, this one amgodiment. And in a 3D sense, that is the experience. Well, let's not identify so much with 3D. Let's let it go. Let's all let it go enough to recognize and realize that while we are that, we are also something greater, something that contains that. I like the way Eckhart Tolle says, you are the space. The body doesn't contain me. I contain the body. Of course, there's a perspective that I can take that says the body contains me. There's a perspective that I can take that says I am the body. There's any perspective I choose to take, as in these eyes through which I had hoped to see God are the eyes through which God sees me. It's the ultimate I am that. And so what we have, now she called it a cloud. I've been accustomed to calling it a huge faceted gem. And all the beings are the facets thereon. But the cloud works really well too, just to look at time, space, and change. Now, what I want to get down to is, why the heck are we here in this hellish experience? And there are times in it when I don't care who you are, it just seems like hell, really challenging, really difficult, really painful, agonizing even. I mean, put whatever word you want to it. Most of us have been there and done that. So why? And I don't know that it's most of us, but many of us are even tempted at one time or another or even frequently, to leave, to just check out and say, enough already, sayonara, you know. And most of us don't do that, which I think is kind of good. I mean, you know, but I'm getting off track. Why are we here? Why am I here? Why would I subject myself to such things? There are those, I mean, we even get angry with God if we're honest enough with ourselves to see it and admit it. I had a friend tell me that I was mad at God probably about 22 years ago. And there was no way I was accepting that. There was no way I could see it in me. And so I rejected it. I realize now she was right. The anger was there, but until we can see it, ain't much happening in dealing with it. It just is. And it's subconscious and it runs us until we take control, take our power back, and, you know, decide to take our power back. All right, so why am I here? First, we have to define I, my friends. I suggest to you that we can all take the same definition. It's the one. Let's own the cloud. Let's own the oneness that Sufi saying points to. I am that. Whatever it is, I am that. It might not be in my conscious awareness of this moment, here and now. That doesn't mean it isn't so. That just means I'm not tuning into it right now. Okay? But I can still own it as my identity. There's another saying I like, and I don't know who to attribute it to. What man has done, man can do. Anything that's been done is a demonstration of what can be done. One of my favorites to point to is Anastasia of the Vladimir Megre novels, The Ringing Cedars. She is some kind of ultimate example of what man can do. We have been convinced that we're small and all this. There's just a raft of programming that we've ridden along on. I'm checking out. You know, I let that raft go on down the river, and I'm checking out. Because the programming is buried so very deep, it's a thing that seems to take time. As I pluck them one belief at a time, those beliefs that were programmed into us when we were young, as we remove them, and the best way to do that is to choose your own beliefs, and then whatever disagrees with them, pluck it out, reject it, say no more, wrong story. Okay, so each one of us, to one extent or another, is in charge of our own ship of state. Now, whether we're in charge of it consciously or not is another matter. I guess I'm calling everyone to consciousness, to awareness. And the way we do that is to step up higher in frequency. And the way we do that is we have to let go of identity with the body mind. It's funny that it's only as we let go, or as we are letting go of it, that the deeper understanding can come in. So when I say I, it's not the body that's speaking there. Go in heart. I'm no different than you. Not at all. I'm just another aspect of you. Okay, why am I here? I want you to envision something. I think a lot of us have pondered or have had revealed to us in our dreams, our meditations, in some few of us, our waking awareness, that we're light beings from higher dimensions, that this being in 3D in a body is not our native thing. Get in touch with that. Even if it's just the feeling of you don't quite fit here. A lot of people know this from the get-go, from when they're little children. They know it just doesn't feel right. Like Anelia Benz had a nervous breakdown at age 3 when she learned that the timeline she was on included war. There's a harshness here that is at war with the delicacy of the inner being. And so the challenges start. Why am I here? Well, remember what you are first. Just take a trip with me. Step into the awareness that you are a being of light. This is closer to your real identity than anything you'll find in 3D, than any of your lifetimes. You are a being of light. As that being of light, you may not be all knowing, but you're a heck of a lot closer to it than anyone encased in form here. You're able to see more, sense more, know more. Totally telepathic. It goes beyond telepathy. And you're aware of Earth. Let's look down on Earth from a distance as a light being. Remember the NDE stories that people tell. There's an instant detachment when we leave the form. That's closer to who and what you are in that layer and level of detachment. When we're in the form, we're in the story. Step out of the story. Be in your more detached light being state. And let's take a position up high and look down on the beautiful earth with our heart and our heart vision. And what do you see and hear? There's a tremendous beauty, an awesome beauty. But there's so much pain, even agony. There's such an abundance of suffering. And so we look a little closer and we see why? What? And we look a little closer to see why these magnificent beings that we know them to be, we can see their greater divinity from our perspective as light beings. They're one of us. Why are they hurting so much? We know that we're eternal, we're infinite, we can't be hurt. We know there's nothing but love and all the rest of that. And yet look at this pain, and so we look closer. And we see the condition of sleeping to the higher awareness, of being sleeple, who have forgotten not just their origin, but their real identity. What does your heart want to do? It wants to bring comfort. It wants to raise them up. Now let's pretend you, in your full light being state, with your full recollections of who and what you are and who and what is, come down You've not incarnated before. You come down and you decide, I want to go. I want to assist. And you take form. You can go and you can preach the truth around the earth for as long as they'll let you live, because you'll probably be shot, murdered, tortured, killed, whatever. Now, why would that be? Let's pretend you're not shot, tortured, murdered, killed, or whatever. Let's pretend you're still living, and you go from town to town and you share your message. And people will come and listen. But from our post, high above, we're still light beings, remember. Let's look down on this with a certain detachment. And let's look at the audience and let's see how they're responding to what you have to say. What's going to create the bridge for them between their experience and yours? What can they see in you that they can identify with? What are you presenting to them that has any relevance to their experience of life, to their reality? That's what they're calling it. They have a greater reality, but they're sleeple. They're not aware of it. I suggest to you that we probably tried to do this in the way back yonder. And the message wasn't received. Because even though we could look in on their pain and their torture, we couldn't identify with it. All we could see is what was right. All they could see is what was wrong. Where's the meeting point in between? So what I'll say is it's something as simple as this. We had to walk a mile in our brother's moccasins in order to gain the integrity and the right to speak and be heard. That was the bridge that was needed, that we go through it as well. And that's my, that's my message to you about why we're here, why we're doing this, why we've been doing this so very long enough that we forgot. And there was a break in the linkage as well with our own higher self. So I offer you this video from Sacred Sarah. I don't know how many will be touched by it as I was. We're all so unique, amazingly so. Individual snowflakes, no two the same. Blessings. I wish all of you only blessings. Good day.